Okay, so welcome to the first episode of the new series of the Sharp Fit for Life podcast. So it's a bit of a reboot now from where we were before.
Version 2, upgrade.
Definitely an upgrade, and it's good because we're always looking at how we can tweak, how we can change, how we can improve, and that kind of that Kaizen principle of continuous improvement is just so important when it comes down to managing your own personal performance and the performance of your business as well.
For sure.
Cool. We've managed very little words this morning.
Yeah.
Okay, but and again, if we look at things like, for example, what you've done on a lot of those kind of world traveling things, if you hadn't constantly been pushing your own personal performance, then actually you probably wouldn't have gone to as many places, you wouldn't have done as many interesting things.
Yeah, it's definitely all about leaving the comfort zone. Been plenty of times feeling uncomfortable, mind over matter, do something new, and then the next time, not so scary.
It's that old adage of adventure starts at the edge of your comfort zone. And that really, it can be quite a scary place for some people.
Oh, for sure.
And any kind of change that people go through, any kind of way that they're trying to adapt or move, sometimes it can kind of create all sorts of problems. And sometimes it's not necessarily a time-based issue, it's not necessarily a physical-based issue, but a lot of those kind of problems seem to start in the head.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I really like the analogy using the Authority magazine post that we did about throwing your hula hoop as far as you can. I don't know if you want to expand on that analogy a bit because I will butcher the explanation.
That's okay. I'm a bit of a butcher of the explanation. But yeah, I mean, that came from, it was an ex-footballer who told me about that. He kind of stopped being a footballer, was looking for what else he was going to do. So he started doing a bit of running, a bit of athletics, ended up doing some marathons, found them quite easy. I mean, it must be crazy. I mean, people that find marathons easy.
It's a bit mad, really.
I haven't quite got my head around that one yet. And then from there, he just started to set himself bigger challenges. So from marathons, he started doing triathlons. From triathlons, when they became too easy, he started to set himself like ultra marathons. From there, he started to do ultra triathlons. And from there, because there wasn't any of these events big enough for him, he decided to go that next kind of step and invented his own. And I remember him telling us he'd literally just got back from doing one where he started in Morocco, swam the Straits of Gibraltar, then cycled from Gibraltar all the way up to like Monaco, and then ran from Monaco to Marseille or something. And it's like, just trying to put your head around that and think, wow, how on earth do you actually get yourself to a position where you can do something like that? That really is taking your hula hoop and throwing it in front of you and just seeing how fast you can try and run to try and keep up with it. Because at each stage in his process, he didn't know whether he could do it. When he did his first marathon, he didn't know he could do a marathon. When he did his first triathlon, he didn't know he could complete that. And when he did his first ultra, he didn't know he could complete that. And then getting to the point now where you set these huge Uber challenges to actually think, can I actually achieve it? Can I actually make it happen?
Yeah, he just pushed his the line so far, I suppose. It's a bit incomprehensible to us, but maybe one day.
Yeah, and I think that's where, as we're starting to do the same types of things, we're changing how we accept what's viable with our bodies, with our mind, with what we are capable of. And if we suddenly start to embrace that, so rather than being fearful of it, then all of a sudden the realm of possibility just becomes bigger and more bountiful. And yeah, it's like, where does that could it actually take us?
For sure. Well, let's use this as a bit of a segue to talk about your triple marathon challenge, because on the topic of mindset, I'm sure I wanna hear your mindset on that one, like how you're feeling about that one. I know you've been running like 10K a day as much as you can.
Yeah, the triple marathon challenge, that is it's a nice way of putting it. And again, I never set out to do that. That wasn't like the beginning of the year. I'm thinking, I'm going to set this triple marathon challenge. It
comes under the category of these things happen, I think.
It definitely comes under the category of these things happen. And one of those great stones of life. So if you guys are familiar with Dr. Stephen Peters' work and the stones of life, those things that you can kind of rest on and bounce yourself back from, these things happen is one of those stones of life that I use in my life, and my kids have now started to adopt it because sometimes things do happen, and you can either wallow in it, you can get sidetracked by it, etc., or you just accept it and move on. And sometimes just doing that acceptance piece and moving on is the best thing you can do, because it redirects your energy into what you should be doing, which is making a difference and doing something in the world, rather than sometimes wallowing in what could have happened, the woulda, coulda, shouldas type of position. And the thing is, okay, sometimes you need to lick your wound. You need to kind of say, what could I have done better? You do that bit of self-analysis, but you shouldn't really live there for that long. You need to kind of pick yourself up, dust yourself off, wind yourself up, and then move on to the kind of the next thing. And that's certainly what the whole "these things happen" type of kind of fits for me. It's that instant way of being able to have that mental reset and having one of those kind of tools, one of those levers that really just gets you going again. So you're no longer stuck. You're not overwhelmed. You're not kind of trying to analyze something and wonder where you're going to go with it. You just basically you just get on with it. So yeah, so these things happen. So for me, as you know, obviously your mum, Sarah, my wife, decided this earlier in the year she wanted to do a 10K race. She's been talking about doing this for like 10 years, and we finally made it happen.
This is doing a marathon, by the way.
No, that was a 10K. That
was the 10K.
No, that was definitely a 10K.
I apologize.
No, that's okay. Hey, you were there.
I was there. But
okay, cool. And we actually got some drone footage of that one. That was quite good.
I was just checking. I was just fact checking you.
Oh, okay.
Cool. On the same page.
Yeah, definitely fact checked. We're definitely on the same page now. But yeah, I mean that was the start of it, and then obviously the realization of first of all, I wasn't a runner at the beginning of the year, and in fact, I hated the idea of running.
Yeah, you was really hating it at the start, so it's quite impressive to see this transformation.
Yeah, well, when you kind of look backwards, and like Steve Jobs says, you can only actually connect the dots when you're looking backwards. When I was in secondary school, it was running that was given as a punishment. If you weren't that sporty at class, or if you came last in something, you had to go do several laps of the field or several laps of the sport hall, whatever it was, and so it never really filled me with joy. And then actually having asthma meant that I have been hospitalised for that in the past, which is never a nice experience. Let's put it that way. So yeah, I kind of wasn't looking forward to doing a 10K race in any way, shape, or form. And in fact, when we got back from doing the snow sculpting in Japan and kind of set up to start doing that, it was hell. It really was hell. But again, coming back to that, how do you make yourself do something like that? How do you make yourself actually take that leap and go through that initial parts of pain and having those supporters around you? So first of all, having a real clear goal, having a real clear goal of what you're trying to achieve, and expressing that goal in as many different ways as you can.
So to interrupt, what is your goal right now?
So my goal right now is to be able to raise as much money as I can for Teenage Cancer Trust, to be able to complete the 3 marathons. And it is a case of complete the 3 marathons and enjoy the experience. So for me, I'm visualizing in my mind things like the roar of the crowd. I'm visualizing what's it going to smell like? What's it going to be when you're around those people? So there is going to be a variety of smells, not all of them pleasant, granted. When we did the 10 miler in October and following some of the people running in that one, there was some quite interesting smells coming out of some of the marathon runners. So I'm kind of expecting something similar as we're going through some of these as well.
Nice one. So where are you sitting on the scale of motivation versus dedication right now?
It's pretty much I'm well motivated and absolutely dedicated. And again, this is coming back to using your mind and actually how can you make it the best support you possibly can. It's setting yourself up for success. So it's having those circles of influence that are around you. So, for example, you've got your, for me, is making that personal commitment to the family, what we're doing here and why am I doing it, etc. And getting the love and support of the family. That's kind of helping me. We've got the friendship circles around that. That's, again, lots of love and support and encouragement there. So for example, I'll give a shout out to Gabe. Thank you very much. Ultramarathon Runner Extreme and being an absolute running guru for me. And it's the encouragement of people like that where you can bring up and say, what happens here. And same with Mark, for example. I have several conversations with Mark. Mark's been running marathons for many, many years, whereas this is going to be my first ones next year. So that kind of gives you that smart support and that community around you that kind of helps you. And also because you made it a declaration, you're more likely to do it. So then how can you actually make this bigger? Because, for example, there's been several studies done on how to actually achieve goals and make them more reliable. And one specific one that was done by a university in California, I'm trying to remember which one, the Dominican University of California.
Not the UCLA.
No, not that one. They found that 70% of people actually achieve their goals when they actually shared their goals publicly with a number of people there, and also kept the people updated with what it is that they've done, how far have they come, and that kind of level of accountability and that kind of level of support.
Trying to think of that word, so a sense of accountability.
Yeah, so it makes a big difference. So again, same here. I'm publicly let that known that this is what we're doing. We've talked about it in various different media outlets. I've talked about it in lots of different groups that I've been at. So there's lots and lots of people now know this is happening, and we've received some good support from people as well. Again, this is a great charity, so definitely worthwhile getting on board. If something you do want to support, then do bob on to the Sharp Fit for Life /TCT 2025. And you'll be able to help support the charity there as well, and also keep abreast of how my training and development's going in that direction.
So that's how you're staying extrinsically motivated. How are you staying motivated intrinsically?
Well, again, this is all linked together, isn't it? So as soon as you start to make a personal declaration, you've got that extrinsic piece because you're gathering supporters, but that reinforces, who you identify yourself as internally.
Well, that's important.
Exactly, and then it all comes back down to your values. What are the things that you really value in life? And as we've talked about before on the previous kind of release of the podcast and in various different outlets, it's for me. There's just three things that I value in life. It's about my family, how much I love and care for them. I do want to use me as a springboard for their greatness as they kind of go off in their lives, and that's really important to me. And then you've got things like family, friends, where it's things like just enjoying spending time with them and going on crazy adventures. Like for example, the snow sculpting that's coming up. Yeah, we'll talk a bit about snow sculpting at some point.
Oh, we will.
Yeah, and that's going to be, again, it's really exciting. It's something that's, I love being able to support my friends in being able to do that. And then there's things like your clients. I mean, my clients are really important to me. I love spending time with them and supporting them and getting their results that they need. And, the different clients need different things. Some of them become almost like the beloved adversary because they do want the moon on a stick and they want it twice. And it kind of challenges you to realize, what is the shape of that moon and how big is the stick that they really want. And other clients, it's an absolute pleasure working with them, and you don't really realize the big impact they've had until they get towards the end of the journey and see that transformational point, and they're just so grateful that they've gone through that process and they've got to the point where actually life is so much better for them. They're performing better. Every aspect of their life feels better, and it's reflected in what's happening inside their work as well as inside their life. And being able to see those things, those three elements of that are really what motivates me in turn all the time. And I think when anything starts to erode those, that's when I know I've got to start to put some more effort in place.
Well, that was a good insight.
Yeah. So coming back to the beginning of the year, we were talking about doing the 10K. So came back off.
This is the beginning of 2024.
2024, yep.
This could be 2025 by the time this is out.
Oh, this is a good point. Well made.
So
yes.
Let's clear that up for you viewers out there.
Yep. So just so you know, this is not live. This is recorded. As if you didn't quite know that one. But yeah, beginning of 2024, came back from Japan, doing snow sculpting there at the end of February, started doing the running, and it just felt absolutely awful. Literally, I couldn't even run 1 kilometer, let alone anything else. It was more like a run walk. And again, if I hadn't had those kind of motivators behind me, if I hadn't had that simple fact that I'm supporting Sarah and being able to do this, I would have probably given up because it wasn't necessarily one of my specific goals in life to start being a runner, but it was something that was really valuable to Sarah, and because as she's part of my family, that's one of my top values. So being able to support her and be able to do that actually kept me on track.
So do you find when you're running, you're doing a bit of a back and forth with that Charlie in your head about like worth it for my wife?
Yeah, I mean, the first 3 months, that pretty much was what it was. I mean, you'd go from end of February to what, about the end of June-ish. And that is the only thing that really kept me going. And thankfully, again, lots of other people kind of come in and give advice. So a friend of mine, my accountant actually, Mark, he kind of said, why don't you do a park run? You know, park runs are great. It's an opportunity to get out there and socialize a bit. So I thought, yeah, why not? This is a 5K, it's slightly bigger than the 1K I was trying to get done. And then the first park run I did, I hated it. I absolutely couldn't stand it. It was hard work. I literally ran, walk the whole lot. We got back to the car. I think it took me about 35 minutes to be able to drive again. My legs just were not working.
And when was that? What month?
So this was in February, end of February.
Yeah, because like 6 months later, you did like what's called a sandwich kind of park run, didn't you? Where it's like you run to it, run it, and then run home.
Yeah, well,
I think they call it a park run sandwich, something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, park run sandwich. To the York one, because again, it's quite close. It was like a 5K run to park run, 5K run round park run, and then a 5K run back. Which when you kind of look
like in contrast, that is quite something.
It is, and I think this is where again a lot of people don't realize what they can get their body to do, and it's the mind that's the problem.
Well, I always think about it. For me, when I'm trying to get started with something, it's a bit like if you've ever sawn something, just trying to get that initial groove is the hardest bit. And then when it's going, you're going kind of thing. Just that first bit, trying to get it in that groove.
Yeah, or keeping it in the groove. Because again, if you've got it where it's jumping out all the time, and again, this happens.
Yeah, and the deeper it sinks, the easier it is. So it's just about getting a routine behind you, really.
Yeah, build a habit.
Build a habit, that's for sure.
Yeah, because we need these mental shortcuts in life all the time. Or it's a bit like, for example, I mean, there's tens of thousands of bits of input that your brain gets just directly through your eyes, and you don't have enough processing power to be able to deal with every single one of them. So it has to create a lot of shortcuts to make that happen. And without those shortcuts, without those mental shortcuts, your mind would just get overwhelmed, just crazily overwhelmed. Yeah, so building those habits, those kind of easy shortcuts, those things that actually become things that build you up. Because the other side of it is it's really easy to build negative habits and things that can kind of tear you down. And it's a bit like the old saying of if you do what's easy, your life becomes hard. But yeah, if you do what's hard, your life becomes easy. And for sometimes it can actually feel if you're feeling a bit under the weather, and a bit achy or something, maybe, or maybe the weather itself just isn't great. Maybe it's a little bit overcast or a bit cold or a bit rainy, and you're thinking, I really can't be bothered doing
Yeah,
this.
it's just easy to make excuses. For me, I find personally, I just sometimes have to choose dedication over motivation because it is hard to stay motivated on those gloomy days. So if you're feeling a bit rubbish, but if you're dedicated as opposed to being motivated, you can still get it done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, right. It's that whole thing about inspiration, aspiration, perspiration. Into you've got to get to the point where actually you use it because the benefit is going to give you. And I think once you've experienced the benefit, it becomes easier.
I can back that. I used to hate the gym, hate it with a passion, and now like when you see a bit of a transformation, and the same with clean eating. Like I have always been a clean eater, but since like trying to make it more like a habit to constantly eat healthy and clean foods, like when you see the difference in transformation, it is like hard to stop and almost becomes like a bit of an addiction in itself. Healthy addiction.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, when you think about how that's working in your brain, the fact is you're creating melanin pathways all the time when you create good habits, etc. And that kind of reinforces itself. It makes it easier. So, the first few times you start doing something like, for example, going to the gym, or maybe starting to go running, or maybe just eating healthier, it feels hard. It grates because you haven't got that kind of background of a habit created. You haven't already got those melanin pathways.
And you don't get the instant dopamine of instant reward. It's like a long-term thing. So it's a bit hard to stay motivated without those spikes of like positivity.
Definitely. And it's interesting because you talk about that side of it, and one of the questions a lot of people ask me is around um, what's the hardest part of going on your own transformational journey? What's the bit that actually takes the time? What's the bit that actually is the crucial thing? And a lot of people believe it's that initial moment. Those first few weeks, those first few months when you're trying to build a habit, you're trying to make things happen. And I'm not entirely certain I agree with that when it comes down to any kind of change, because in those early stages, you've kind of got you're almost in the honeymoon period.
Yeah, I agree, because you hit a plateau. Like you kind of, or at least from maybe we have similar experience, because I say we grew up together, but I'm obviously a lot younger. But you get what I'm trying to say. Like I do feel the same way, that it's like when you're at the initial start and gains are coming fast, and like, I don't know, skateboard and new tricks are coming all the time. And then you hit just a point where it's like, it goes from being like this to just kind of flat. And that part is hard to stay motivated in. And then you kind of learn how you could maybe like improve your, if this is in the gym, you could maybe improve your form, like change the reps, like switch things up, mix it up. And then that keeps you motivated. But I agree, like, I find getting started with something and forming the habit a bit easier than like keeping going at something for like a year.
Yeah,
if that's a similar thing to what you're saying, I might have misinterpreted, but
no, you're spot on. I mean, and that's the kind of thing I was thinking of when I started that, is to just bring up that kind of piece where, yes, you can have that initial motivation, that inspiration, especially, for example, as we're starting to look at the crossover into the new year. Some of you guys might be listening to this and it is early 2025, in which case, keep going. If this is
literally keep going.
Yeah, if this is something you want to make happen in your life, you want to make this change a permanent feature, then you just got to keep going, and you've got to set that time aside in your life to make it actually happen. So not only is it a case of
well, I'll interrupt there. The time aside, that is definitely like building it into your routine. Like set this aside, like constantly set it aside, not just like now and again. Like you got to build it in, because people are busy, life's busy, so.
Yeah, we'll touch more on that when we come down to talk about method a bit later. But sticking with that, the kind of mindset bit now. Yeah, it's like hitting that kind of plateau and thinking, actually, what is it I'm trying to achieve? Why is it I'm trying to achieve it? And also pre-preparing yourself, so realizing, well, what's going to cause hiccups along the way. Because like in business, being forewarned is to be forearmed. If you understand what the risk is that you're going to be coming across and how that risk is going to affect you, then straight away you can put plans in place, you can put mitigation strategies in place, and you can make something work. And same happens with your own life. If you know that these plateaus are going to be coming, and you might be challenged with the motivation or with bad weather or whatever else is going to come up, if you can put some strategies around that, then all of a sudden you've got a way to go it. So a bit like, for example, with you and your climbing, when you're doing the climbing again, you were talking about those gains being really easy, and then
I don't know, that sucked at the start. Like I'd say like the first like 2 months, I'd never felt so weak in my life. But yeah, and then carry on, continue.
No, please.
Later.
Just describe it. Yeah, go for it.
Well, yeah, like the first month or two was like very difficult, and I go with my girlfriend, and she's just a lot more flexible, a lot stronger than me as well. And it was like seeing people be so much better at something. Like I don't mind that, but like, yeah, it was definitely tricky at the start, and there's a lot of finger strength involved, which over a lifetime is something that I've never tried to develop or had the need to develop. So to go in something that fresh and feeling that weak, it's just an unusual feeling. I would recommend, if you've not done it, to go try it, and then you might see what I feel like. I mean, hopefully not, but maybe. But then just forcing myself to climb more, basically, and harder things that I would previously look at and think it's not possible. And my girlfriend did tell me, just, you may as well just try it, and then maybe one day you can do it. And that's probably the best piece of advice that I had been given, because my finger strength has definitely vastly improved, and now I'm finding like new ways to climb things. I'm finding like in normal day-to-day life, I can do different things to what I used to, and then now I've started gymming a bit. Like that is hand in hand helping my climbing, and now the gains are in that stage of like it's good. I mean, it will plateau. I'm not naive, But yeah, I don't know for anyone who knows about climbing, taking it from like V3s being like a good baseline for me to now like I have done a few V7s and I just couldn't believe it. Like when I first started, I would look at it and be like, well, that's impossible. There's no point. But now I'm at that point. Like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot more progress to make, but we're making it. And yeah, like you build strength faster than you think, I suppose. And it is hard to stay motivated in those initial stages of just like I can't describe how awful it feels to feel that weak. Because I have, as I say, like skated and done action sports for a long time and I can flip and things like that, but couldn't hold on with my fingers. Like it just felt a bit embarrassing, but it's all right. I've been going for a while, so the progress is there. It's coming.
And I think the other interesting thing is, and I like the way you kind of brought in about the finger strength specifically about one of those, and obviously the flexibility.
Flexibility still remains a bit of an issue. But we'll get there.
You've kind of compensated in a different way. So think about the power to weight ratio of both of you, and definitely I think your girlfriend's got she's a lot more powerful for the size that she is in that respect. But you're kind of utilizing your strength now that you're kind of gaining your advantage. And it reminds me of when me and your mum were kayaking right back in the early stage.
I do think of this often, by the way.
Yeah, well, the kayaking bit.
Well, just literally when I'm climbing, I think the same thing of like, mine's just brute force and ignorance, and hers are a lot more delicate and petite and like well placed. So I am trying to. I'll let you tell your story in a second, but I am trying to transition myself into that more like precision style as opposed to just like oomph and like brute force getting me up there. But please continue.
No, absolutely. I mean, you just said it basically.
I ruined the story, but anyway.
But that's it, you see, and it's just that difference. So Sarah would just go bob into the water. She would go through an eddy or go through a stopper or something, and it was almost like a quick flick of the wrist, and she would be through it, bounce through it really elegantly. It looked amazing. I kind of get in there, get stuck in it, have to really kind of dig and use just brute force and strength to get through it. And we both enjoyed the trips. Don't get me wrong, but
you both get to the same point. It's just one looks a lot prettier than the other.
Yeah, definitely.
And like probably both of us are out of breath and dying at the end.
Exactly. So it is. It's definitely a different approach, and and this is the thing I love. But there's so many different parallels when you start looking.
But it is a bit back to your comfort zone because like trying to change your style a bit to not be like that, like not just sticking to your natural abilities, but actually growing more in different places.
Yeah,
it's like I find that an important thing because your body can just get strong at one particular thing, but it's good to test it.
Yeah,
a bit like racking up the weights with not just your right hand all the time. Or I don't do this, but like brushing your teeth or something. Like it's good to just push your mind in different ways.
I'm going to correct that when you do actually brush your teeth, but yeah.
No. I meant with my left hand.
Yeah, no.
I don't use a mouse either, but anyway.
You don't use a mouse?
Trackpad, baby, all the way.
Right, on the computer, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. What else would I use a mouse for?
I'm not too sure. We're talking about brushing teeth here for a second.
Yeah, do not brush your teeth with a mouse.
Yeah, good safety tip there. I do like it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So where on earth do we go with from that? But it's interesting because obviously we've been talking about mindset, we've been talking about change, we've been talking about how to keep yourself on target, etc., and talk about plateauing and things. And I think the other bit as well that we've probably not touched on yet, which is quite an important part of mind, is ego, and actually how that kind
That's a good one.
Yeah, how ego can really derail you sometimes. Because, it's good to have an amount of ego.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's important to note some ego is good.
Yeah, and it kind of gives you those kind of stretch goals. It helps kind of keep pushing you and motivating you if it's used correctly. But sometimes ego can get in the way. And in so many different ways. I mean, just literally when you are doing things like, for example, lifting weights, or you are running or something, then when your ego's getting in the way and it's kind of saying, no, you've got to increase your weight week on week. You've got to do more reps week on week. You've got to go run faster week on week. You've got to do a longer distance week on week. And if that's all that's kind of happening, then those days when you can't because you do plateau out, all of a sudden it becomes even harder to keep yourself motivated.
Yeah, and it's definitely naive, I think, to go in with the perspective of, I'll use weight training as an example. I think it's silly to go into it thinking you're going to go up every single week because your body, just like anything in life, is a bit like a graph. Like it has peaks and troughs. Like as a whole, you are going up like the stock market, it goes up. but there is days when it's down, and obviously if you're in with the mindset and expectation of every week you're going up and you're going down, that is going to be demotivating. And if you let ego step in, you might end up like damaging yourself. So it's just important to note that you're not 100% all the time, and sometimes you might be 110%, even though that's impossible. And have like a really good day, and then when you come back the next week or day, you've gone down a bit again. But I think that's okay, as long as like overall, using weight training again as an example, going up in weight overall over the course of the year or something, or the month, definitely like you should aim for that, otherwise you'll never make gains. And you point out that I'm quite bad for doing that. But yeah, like basically don't worry about having bad days.
Yeah, exactly. You take the ego out of it, so you kind of earn the right to make the difference, because you know you've got everything in place. You're slowing things down. You're getting that great connection between your mind and your muscles. You're kind of really firing off every fiber.
Yeah, because you can focus on other things if you can't go in weight. Like, I hurt my neck. Well, I didn't hurt my neck, but my neck was just in pain for some reason. If you remember that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, I still want to come to the gym, but I had to be like vastly compromised, like probably down to like a tenth of the weight that I'd normally do. And obviously, if you let ego get in the way, I would have really just ended up damaging myself. But it was, I almost took it as like a treat, not having to do lots of weight and just getting the movement and doing things right, improve my form ready for when I could come back and go up in weight again. So I think that's kind of like ego driven in a way.
Yeah, no, definitely. And same with, for example, almost feeling like you have to do things all the time, and sometimes that can be driven by ego. Or
how do you mean by have to do things?
So for example, you feel like you have to train every single day, or you feel like you have to kind of go for.
I am bad for this.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to kind of take that step back and think, actually, your body needs time to recover. And if you're constantly taking on board things, and this isn't just from a training perspective, this could be happening actually in your role, in your work, in your business, etc. And you're constantly saying, yes, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that next thing. Then before you know it, you've taken on too much and you're creating all these additional stresses which cause issues with your body.
And it's important to remember there's always more work to be done. Like, you'll just finish the work, do more, then you'll finish that and do more. Like, it's not going to end. So it is like, obviously you should work hard for sure. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. I hope I articulated that correctly. Maybe not.
Yeah, it always reminds me of your granddad Trevor when he he just says, you'll never ever get to the end of the list of jobs that you'll be given to do on the house. It just is, it's a never ending list. And it's true, it is. So, you know, you do what you can when you can to make things happen. But it's so important as well to take that step back and actually look back over what's happening with your body, create those times for relaxation, to recoup, regenerate, and we'll talk a lot more about this later.
Well, again,
moderation.
Well, yeah, moderation, but it's just going back to forming habits again, or forming a routine. So you do have that time for yourself, like structure it in at like a time. Everyone's life is different, but you can find that time that suits you. Might take a bit of trial and error, but it'll come. Like, I'm pretty happy with my routine.
Yeah, well, again, you've been working on that quite significantly now for the last 6 months.
Oh, it's changed humongously. Like, probably like turned my life upside down, to be honest. But I'm feeling good for it.
Yeah, and you seem to have a lot more positivity from it. You've got a lot more structure from it, and certainly from an outsider's point of view, it looks like you've now got some real direction going on in your life. You kind of seem like you've got some ideas where you want to do things, which is as a father, it's beautiful to see.
Yeah, it's much better.
Yeah,
like, you got to understand, like, you'll change. Like, that is something that's like letting go of, like, not letting go of the past. That's a bit morbid, but I don't know. Like, change is inevitable, and it is. I'll use the word naive again to think that you're going to be the same person in like 5 years as you are today, because it's just not the case. So yeah. I think for a long time I was stuck in a bit of a hamster wheel of trying to like be who I was, and it's just like things change, like routines change, like hobbies change, people change, groups change. Life's about change, and it's got to roll with it, I suppose. It's always a bit of a roll of the dice. It's just comfort zone again, because you're changing to do something different that before seems out of this world. Like, honestly, having something like chia seeds on my breakfast, if I told myself I'd be doing that 3 years ago, I would probably laugh in my own face, to be honest, of like, why would you do something that silly? But I now like chia seeds, so
Yeah. And again, this is just part of the whole thing that life is constant change. You kind of just got two options, really. You either roll over and let life happen to you, and in which case you can feel badly done to because you're not taking control over it. You can feel like everything's being done to you, and you don't have any ability to make any influence on it. Or you can realize that change is happening, and you can take control of that change and actually direct the change in the way that you'd like it to go. Now, it's not saying
This is super important.
yeah, it's not saying that everything's going to go your way. You can't suddenly wake up in the morning and think, okay, I'm going to make everything happen the way I want it to, because there's so many other influences in life that come out of
And
this.
I will put my 2 pence in there and just say, like, don't feel like you're being a pushover as well. Because I know that was like a big thing for me, like just when bad things happen, just like seeing how you would handle a situation to me felt like I've been a pushover, but it's just not. It's just enhancing your life, so you're not stressed, because stress is literally like the worst thing you could have. And
Yeah.
so some things, like, again, it's naive to think that you're never going to be stressed ever again. Like, some things get the better of you, and that happens. I'd say for the most part, just to like these things happen and move on. Like with tax, it is just painful, like on cars and stuff. To use that as an example.
Yeah, I think we've had so many conversations about breakdowns of cars, taxes on cars, insurance for cars, and yeah,
But it's the same with all of life. It's not just cars. But I do very much agree with your point there of like just accepting things do happen and rolling with it. Basically, we had a photo shoot that was cancelled. But that was like quite a big build up, wasn't it? Like, we've been looking for a while. We actually got these T-shirts for it, which does have a sassy thing on the back. If I could spin round, but I'm
you can spin around. You got the spinny chairs. You just have to go.
oh, there we are. Even more healthier, happier, and high achieving. There we are. Anyway, we got those for a photo shoot, and that was cancelled. And we'll say that that was maybe one of the situations where it got the better of us for a little while. Like, not
Half
saying
an hour.
half an hour, yeah. Like, but we adapted things, we changed things, we did well, we kind of did a photo shoot back at the studio, back in here, except photographer did not click the photography button. So,
Well, no, I was playing photographer for most people, and most people got their photos. It's just a friend of mine. Yeah, thank you, Justin. We're going snow sculpting, and I'll remember to take your photos. Don't worry. And yeah, so we gave him the camera because
so this is after it's cancelled. So it was meant to be driving down. Was it in London?
It was in High Wycombe.
It was in High Wycombe. So quite a long drive for us to get there, really. And we was like on the way, and then the photographer rang up to say he was unfortunately ill, which you can do nothing about. Like, these things do happen. Except it was quite a big. It was a big moment for us as a business, really, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah, I mean, it felt awful letting down the people that we're going for.
yeah, not so much for us, just like because it's progress. Like, it, I know for you at least, when you got your progress photos, that was definitely like, even if you didn't think so, from an outside perspective, it was a big motivator for you.
God, yeah.
And it's important for our clients to have that too.
Yeah, and we'll go through a lot more about that when we talk more about monitoring, actually, because that's one of those things when you're kind of going through the process of change, it's really easy to forget where you started from, because it takes time, right? It's not instantaneous. I mean, everybody wants the get fit quick scheme and the instant diet pill or whatever it is, but the reality is
Eat more, move less style.
Yeah,
whoa, the other way around, but it's still a myth. So
yeah, these things just don't work. I mean, it takes time for your body to adapt and change, and if you want to see those performance improvements, not just the kind of the weight loss side of things, but if you want to have something that actually is sustainable for your life, and you see those kind of performance improvements, it does take time to get that done, and that means you have to set your mindset up into a position where it's going to support you for the long term.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, to get back to the story, just to finish it, because it's kind of becoming irrelevant at this point, but we basically came back here to have the photo shoot, didn't we? Like, just because we have cameras and lighting and stuff. And then you took pictures of everybody. And then when it came to yours, camera, the shutter button was not pressed. We'll say that. But,
yeah, but these things happen.
But the moral of the story is we adapted to the situation. Like, we still came back, still did a photo shoot. Like, it was a stressful day. It was a long day. A day that we would not want to repeat, I think we can agree on. But yeah, these things happen. Just got to, like, take it for what it is and make things work.
Exactly, and again, it's that taking that mindset option for it, and looking at the scenario and saying, actually, what can I do? And for sometimes,
It's easy to quit though.
it is.
In a situation like that, it's very easy just to be like, well, it's game over. But it was nice to see that you pushed through that.
Yeah, and I see this with a lot of people in business. It is so easy to quit. It's easy to quit on yourself because you've got a busy week coming up, and you've got to get that client's proposal out. And
it's easy to quit because it's the easy option.
Yeah,
that's why.
And so you end up being in the position where you say, okay, I'm going to prioritize that above myself, and then what happens is there's always another proposal. There's always another client that needs another thing doing, and before you know it, maybe 3-4 months, 3-4 years, maybe 2 or 3 decades have gone past, and you've kind of put yourself on the back burner so much that actually you no longer recognize who you are. And that's the kind of scary piece is to take those situations and think, okay, actually, I'm not going to quit on myself. Now, I'm actually going to put myself first. I am actually going to be the one that's going to succeed, because if you're not sorting things out for yourself, if you're not being performant, if you don't have the energy, then how can you give the energy to anybody else? If you're so tired that you're drained all the time, that you cannot be creative, then how are you going to be expecting to create solutions, etc., for your clients or for your life in general? How are you expected to have fun if you're not taking that time? So it's really important sometimes to look back at the way you help your own mind, and your own mind helps and supports you. And it starts with, not quitting on yourself. Actually, being you and saying, no, I'm going to do this for me. I'm going to make this work for me. And then for all the other reasons that you can pile around it. So for all the value you can give it, for all the things that you really enjoy in life. And then all of a sudden, that becomes your big motivator.
That was very motivating in itself.
Oh, glad to be motivating. I'm glad you're motivated. Oh, you've been dying to press those
buttons. I've been dying to soundboard it, to be honest. Got an air horn too. So in case we ever need that.
Yeah, there's going to be some more. I'm just not going to be able to stop him pressing the buttons. Let's put it this way.
Yeah, you put it on my side. That was a rookie error, right there.
Rookie error, definitely. I've given him the controls. So let's wrap this one up.
Happy to do that.
Yeah, it's hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode, and it's kind of made you to think about motivation, the reasons why you do things, actually how you can make your mind your own sport, and hopefully illustrating that through a few stories. It's given you some ideas as well. We're looking forward to coming back for the next episode in this series, where we're going to be talking more about meals.
Yeah, my favorite.
Yeah. Being a teenage lad, he loves to eat. Well, he's not a teenage lad anymore. Oh my god!
No, we're getting a bit old now, but we'll keep it under wraps.
Yeah, okay. We'll let everybody know how old you are quite yet. Right. So have an absolutely super and amazing time ahead. Until next time we're here, we'll look forward to speaking to you then. Have an absolutely amazing time. Bye bye for now.
Peace out, guys.